Today we're going to talk about success and what success truly is. And when you hear the breakdown, you're going to be like, oh, that's what it is? So welcome, Success Steppers. Hope you are feeling inspired this grand, tremendous Tuesday, because there's a lot to feel inspired about. You are now tuned in to the podcast of Journey of a Healed Success Stepper. I'm Dr. Dorina Shine, and I'm grateful that you're here with me today. So let's jump right into the topic. I was talking to a wonderful individual yesterday, and we were talking about the way people perceive things. And in perception is one of the greatest scenarios. Someone may say that another person is one way, but the person themselves may have a different perspective. And that's so amazing. When they finally come together and share their perception, they begin to get some type of understanding of what really went down, what really was going on. So shout out to the young lady I spoke to yesterday, who I'm speaking about. I'm still doing my research, and affiliation is everything as well as part of success. So success is defined as accomplishing what you set out to do. That is a personal journey. That is a journey that is significantly impacted by your action, and no one else can compete with that action. Only you can. But for some apparent reason, it seems like we're all thrown into a pool of some sort of, confident building perspective, and the one who rises above everyone else begins to be the success-driven individual. That's not how it is in today's society, because people don't care as much about what the other person is doing, or rather, I should say, they shouldn't care as much about what the other person is doing versus what is internally being done. Remember, we talked about in the humiliation document yesterday, we talked about the internal and external factors, and those are very, very vital. Internal should be a lot more intrinsic, more attached to what you do to achieve a goal, to become successful, than any external forces. The external forces is just the validation. But now, I was asked, what does success mean to me? To me, I believe anything I set out to do, whether I knowingly will be looking at it as a success-driven focus, or if I'm just playing the game of life, whatever it is I'm doing, if I'm going out to gain new clients, whatever I do in that activity makes the action actionable, which then perceives my level of confidence to bring success. When success starts to show up, I validate it with the external scenarios and things that happen around my world. What happens, the way I live, the vehicle I drive, the intentions that I set, the home that I reside in, the properties that I purchase, the connections to life, the people in life that I attune to. So success is a personal thing. We've always heard that success was something that was, competitive. It's not. Shout out to Huge Groove. He is jamming in the background. So success is also, to me, a compliment. It's kind of like, let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Will it be successful? Or will it be something that, you might have to deal with at another time, another space, another place? You might have to redo it again. I know I'm taking that recovery certification, and I tell you what, that is something, especially when you hit a certain age, you start, forgetting, like when you go through an exam, you have to take notes because you are forgetful at the time. Like, what is the main focus? Let's just get to the point. So to me, success is trying, even when you don't make the mark, okay? When you don't make the mark, you still keep trying. You get several attempts in life. And that's what success means to me as well. And then also success is the follow-up of what you feel after you have failed in a challenge, or you have failed in a situation. Maybe, someone cheated on you, or maybe, someone took the job that you were searching for or contracting with. And so all these things are vital to the way you see yourself. That's going to determine whether you were at least successful in the action, trying it to see if that is going to be beneficial for you, right? Then showing up for yourself. You have to be the one to show up. If you call yourself a content creator, what are you doing? Are you creating content? Or are you just looking at everybody else's content while doom scrolling? You get your purpose, you get your vision, you get your mission together, and once you figure out what it is that you're going to do, you just don't just jump out there and just talk about just anything. You have a genre, you have a niche, you have a perspective where you're going to promote whatever it is you're advertising. You're going to promote that, right? So right now I'm promoting my ebook, and I am working on the editing versions of it. And for those of you who heard me talk specifically about the introduction of the ebook, that was about maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago. I'm already in the editing stages, because that is something that I feel that I need to do at least for 30 days before I start to add the continuing content. And at this point right now, my ebook is at almost, I think, 3,000 or 2,500 words, but I need to get it at 5,000 words so it can be an effective self-improvement guidebook or blueprint to my pathway. People got to show, you have to show people who you are in today's society. You just can't have a good portfolio building booklet. They want to see the action. And that's weird, because it seems to me like I'm opposite. I got to see the credentials first, but everyone is not like me, so I digress. Also, you got to study yourself. You got to look at your flaws. You got to look at your weaknesses. That is a part of success to me. Because without me recognizing where I'm at emotionally, I could never be a success the way I know I deserve to be. Okay? So for me, success is looking at the failures and critiquing yourself on a consistent basis. I don't need a lot of constructive criticism, because I'm my biggest critic as well as my biggest supporter. That's another theory that I use in the concepts of success. And yeah, that self-confidence helps you build a platform for you to speak your success, for you to empower what the definition of success is. To me, success is also an intrinsic value. It is what I give, the reciprocity of how I respond and relate to other people, even when I know I could relate or respond to them in a different way. I was speaking to a wonderful young lady from Milwaukee yesterday, and shout out to you if you're listening to the podcast right now. But one thing she talked about was traumatized entrepreneurs. People see things in a different way because of the experiences that has validated where they've come from. Okay? So if you take the professional end of the spectrum and you look at your level of success, you can look at your challenges, but your challenges should never outweigh the successes of how you handled them in a productive and a reasonable, in a contractual, professional basis. And sometimes people are not ready for the truth. People are not ready to hear the darker sides of, intentions and purpose behind people. Because I look at the game of life as a success stepper. And I say to myself, everyone has a game. What game is that person playing? What game is that person playing? What game is that person playing? And when you are able to look at everybody as a game player, you become the expansive board in which they play the game on. You become the true success stepper. So success is about making sure that you stay humble in that reality. You know what you know, but do you have to share it all? No. But sometimes when you see people playing the game and you believe that this could be a game play, experience is going to be the number one teacher. So you should not feel as if you've been traumatized, because experiences lead you to success. So those traumatic experiences has made you who you are, which is a better version. So what's wrong with trauma and challenge in entrepreneurship if you are learning from the mistakes? If you haven't had any, then you're really not really engaged in what genuine success is to you. But that's just to me. That's how I perceive it. Because, I've been in business now. I've been a civil servant and in business almost 30, 40 years, man. And, I've seen all the tricks of the trade. All the tricks of the trade. And I must say, some is very amusing. And when you finally realize that you're you're a success stepper in the game of life, you don't take it so personal. But there was many a days I took it a lot personal. And if you have no filter, you're going to come off very strategically. And that's my final statement of how I view success strategically. I used to jump at the opportunities. Now I kind of sit back and I think about, now what game is this? And I put my gameplays in a booklet. Like how the enemy does when the enemy's purpose is to put the playbook and provide you with the 48 rules of law that they abide by, because they have a blueprint and a game book too. So a success stepper must have a game play booklet, and you must adhere to those rules, because other than that, you will never make your blueprint stamped and approved by the success in which you drive. Also, I want to say, success, when you realize who you are and you work and critique yourself, you know yourself better than anyone knows you. It puts you in a better position to play the game. It allows you that opportunity to say, yeah, I can do this thing. I'm a game stepper. I'm a success stepper. I'm going to drive this thing home. And no matter if you fall, sometimes you're new at the game, you may lose. It's like playing Uno with your brother or your sister or your mom or your cousin. You know what I mean? The loser feels like, dang, I was right there. I could have made that. Or, I don't play cards, but, whatever games you play. Monopoly or checkers. Somebody's going to be the loser, and that's the game of life. Someone's going to win, someone's going to lose. You're not always going to be the winner. So you got to critique yourself when you are the loser. And then you got to say, what did I not do right to where I should have won that game? What do I need to learn about this? Strategy. Because strategy is the thing that may actually save your life, or save your business from a lawsuit, or save your programs, or, things that you do. You continue to receive grant funding. But when you get comfortable, when you get comfortable and you feel you've made it to the mountaintop, I suggest to go back down the mountain and try it again. And a lot of people don't want to do that, because it is there we find the balance. We find the balance of who we are. We find the integrity and why we have to go through so much. We look at the challenges and they should balance with the success. So there should be just as many successes as there are failures. And then that's when you know you have been able to learn to define success. You know, the integrity, the morality. You know, I speak on Universal Leadership course. And what I do in the Universal Leadership course is I talk about the morality in business. I talk about the integrity-driven entrepreneur. I talk about the success value within non-competitive format. When I do that, it brings about a different perspective in how the individual sees themselves as an upcoming entrepreneur, an entrepreneur who's been in business 1 to 5 years, a moderate individual who has been in the game of entrepreneurship between 5 and 15 years, and those who are just connoisseurs of the business game. Because if you think about it, there's really only 12 different personalities in the world. Try organizing the people you know, and I guarantee you, if you put a column of 12 personalities, happy, stressed, you know, whatever you want to line your personalities. I line mine in a different way. I'm going to be sharing that one day as well. But when you realize the strategy is that you become a better version when you can put people into a category. And it's not a prejudicial act. You don't just prejudicially put people in a category because you have never gone through the experience with that person. So you're going to judge that person as being who you think they are based upon your first impression. Someone told me a while ago that, give me a second. They told me a while ago, they said you only have one time to make a first good impression or the first impression. I forget. You only have one time to make a true first impression. That sounds very unique. That sounds very okay. But we're human. So that's not true. The only time you have the first opportunity to make a first good impression is when you're faking your way through a scenario, in my opinion, only because of the environment in which I have been strategically designed to observe. And I must say that, yeah, you make a good first impression and you put yourself all the way out there based on that person who you're trying to impress. You're basing all of your strategy on someone who may not even have the experience to respect the entitlement of who you are. That person may not be on the level to even understand the perception of what they need to learn about themselves just to protect who they are. So what gives them the right to judge you? These are things that I need you to think about as you are walking through business. You know, I shared with another person that I spoke with about the concept of morality and age in business. And one thing that I recognize is that the younger versions of individuals know it all. Shout out to Susie. You said that, you know, knowing it all and, you know, creating the idea and the format behind why a child can be 17 and 18 or 19 and 20, 25, and they think they know it all. I was never that type of child, that young adult. I was always curious. So in that curiosity, I'm always around older people. I'm always soaking in the energy and the experience. I'm always soaking in the wisdom. So I was always more in tune with things that eventually showed up. Like, wow, so-and-so was really right. Miss Trammell was really correct when she told me in the 10th grade, be mindful of it. Don't be so fast, girl. Be mindful of these young men. They ain't really out for what you out for. When it showed up in my life, I was like, dang, Jamel. And she wasn't even that older than really me. I think she might have been, I might have been in the 10th grade. She might have been maybe 27, 29, But the reality of it is when we bond with our internal value, that external is going to show outwardly. It's going to show in your walk. It's going to show in your talk. You can't fake it to make this type of thing. You can't go get an AI meta to produce a script for you and stand in front of a camera without feeling the experience. You have to feel the experience. And once you feel that experience, you're there. So that's my true definition of what success means to me. What does success mean to you? Put it in the comment box. You can direct message me. I run a universal leadership course where we talk about leadership strategies and morality and business and ethics. I also run the Scales to Success LLC company where we specifically get you geared and ready for businesses. We have partners and affiliates that can help. If we can't get you right where you want to be, we can maybe, refer out. And then we also have the Emotional Healing Solutions Program. And we're under that program, we're working with the Global Initiative to Intervention and Prevention Act of 2025, where the Congress is now looking at our proposal in order to help those in society learn more and be more proactive and more reactive to the experience of lacings or covertly prescribed without knowledge. Okay? And all that can be found at shinedorina@gmail.com. Everything is all lowercase. Everything is all letters. shinedorina@gmail.com. And in the subject box, you can put whichever service you would like to learn more about. And in that, I will give you a return email. And then from there, we will share with you exactly what we do and how we can help your business. We appreciate you. We value everyone that we connect to and link with all over the world. We are a global business consulting service, so we do have connections in other countries as well as nationally and locally. So we really appreciate you, and I hope this helped, and we'll see you next time.